Welcome, everybody. We're so glad to have you joining us for today's webinar titled ITF Therapeutics Patient Community Update. I'm Patricia Brown, and I'm the Senior Director of Community Engagement, and I'm going to get us started with a little bit of housekeeping. We will have an opportunity for Q&A at the end of this webinar. Anytime throughout the speaker's presentations, you can click on the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. For any unanswered questions, we'll work with ITF Therapeutics team to follow up with you individually after the webinar. After today, this webinar will be available on CureDuchenne's website in case you would like to share it with others or listen to it in its entirety again. And now let's meet our speakers today. I'm going to welcome Scott Baver to our webinar. Scott?
Thank you, Patricia. Hello, everyone. I'm Scott Baver, and I am the Head of Medical Affairs here at ITF Therapeutics. And on behalf of the team, thank you for giving us the opportunity to walk you through our presentation today, which is entitled Introducing DUVYZAT. So today, we're going to break the presentation into three specific parts. First, we're going to give you the mechanism by which we think DUVYZAT or givinostat works in Duchenne. Then we're going to move through our pivotal study, the Epitus phase 3 trial data, before moving and introducing you to our patient assistance program entitled ITF ARC. Next slide, please. So before we start, I do want to note that DUVYZAT is an HDAC inhibitor indicated for the treatment of Duchenne muscular dystrophy in individuals 6 years of age or older, regardless of genetic mutation. So DUVYZAT is a first of its kind non-steroidal treatment option for individuals with all genetic variants of DMD. Before going to the mechanism of action, I do want to highlight that this presentation is focusing specifically on the US right now. We have, again, approval in the US with the FDA. We have filed for approval elsewhere in the world, but just to reiterate that this focus is for the US audience. But let's get into the actual presentation, and we'll start off with where we think givinostat is working within just Duchenne, and so the mechanism of action of givinostat. So we know that the lack of functional dystrophin results in the inability for muscle to be able to absorb after using your muscle. And that's something where we say that we lose the ability as a shock absorber for the muscle. And that's one of the first things that we think of with the lack of functional dystrophin. In addition, we know that lack of functional dystrophin also results in increased inflammation. It results in scarring as well as fatty deposit where the muscle should be during repairing. And we also lose the ability to regenerate muscle following the damage of the muscle. So if we click to the next slide, what we can think is, or what we think givinostat is doing, is able to help with the inflammation, improving muscle regeneration or the repair mechanisms to be able to regenerate muscle, as well as decrease scarring and fatty tissue deposit. We think it does this by acting on an enzyme called histone deacetylase, or HDAC, and this HDAC enzyme is also increased in its expression during the events of inflammation, scarring, and fatty tissue deposit to where the muscle will be. So the hypothesis here is that blocking HDAC will be able to improve all of the downstream effects that you see in dystrophin deficiencies. Next slide, please. So to test this, our pivotal phase 3 Epitus clinical trial, we determined the effectiveness and safety of DUVYZAT for the treatment of Duchenne. And this was evaluated in an 18-month randomized double-blind placebo-controlled study. So for the Epitus study, it included 179 individuals who had a confirmed diagnosis of Duchenne. They were randomized 2-to-1 to receive either DUVYZAT or placebo. I want to note that this was a twice daily oral liquid suspension for the dosing of DUVYZAT or placebo. Before getting into the results, some of the key entry criteria: individuals needed to be 6 years of age or older. And so what you see here is individuals ranged from 6 to 15 years old in the study, and there was a mean age of about 9.8 years. All individuals needed to be ambulatory, and they needed to get up from the floor within 10 seconds for the time to rise test. They also needed to be able to climb the stairs, so the 4-stair climb. They needed to do that in greater than 3 seconds, but less than 8 seconds. And they also needed to be on a stable dosage of steroids for at least 6 months prior to coming into the study, and they needed to commit to staying on that steroid regimen throughout the entire 18 months of the Epitus study. Next slide, please. So for the key results, the primary efficacy endpoint was change from baseline to month 18 on the 4-stair climb test. And this was comparing DUVYZAT to placebo. And what we can see in this table, for individuals who were receiving DUVYZAT, the mean baseline 4-stair climb was 3.39 seconds. And for placebo, it was 3.48 seconds. At 18 months, there was a change for DUVYZAT treated individuals of 1.25 seconds, and that was higher for placebo of 3.03 seconds for the 4-stair climb. This difference was about 1.78 seconds, and that was statistically significant as well as being clinically meaningful. So what we see here also is that difference was about a 40% difference, or what we say is a positive difference. This difference meaning that it took the decline in DUVYZAT was less than the placebo group. So in addition to hitting the primary efficacy endpoint, there were consistent results that we saw with key secondary endpoints. One to note here is that individuals who were receiving DUVYZAT, they experienced less worsening on the North Star Ambulatory Assessment compared to placebo. This was nominally, but not statistically significant. Next slide, please. I want to point out the safety data here. So these are the adverse reactions, and I will highlight the most common adverse reactions for individuals receiving DUVYZAT compared to placebo. That was diarrhea, abdominal pain, thrombocytopenia, nausea and vomiting, hypertriglyceridemia, and fever. It's important to also note that only 2% of individuals discontinued the study because of their adverse reactions. We also want to note that temporary treatment interruption or subsequent dose modification, if it was needed, it proved to be useful for the management of a majority of these adverse reactions. And also of note that most of these adverse reactions that you're seeing, they were reported as mild to moderate in severity. Next slide, please. I want to read some important safety information to you. So this is what you see for your ISI. What is the most important information that you should know about DUVYZAT? So first, it may result in low platelet counts in your blood, which we call thrombocytopenia. It also could increase levels of fat or triglyceride in your blood. It can result in frequent watery loose stools or diarrhea and vomiting. And before taking DUVYZAT, tell your healthcare provider about medical conditions, including if you have any heart problems or if you're taking any medicines that could increase your chance for irregular heart rhythms or have any bleeding problems. Next slide. And to continue, tell your healthcare provider about all of the medicines that you take, including prescriptions and over-the-counter medicines, vitamins, herbal supplements. And it's also important to note that DUVYZAT can cause serious side effects, including changes in the electrical activity of a heart called QT prolongation. I will highlight again that the most common side effects of DUVYZAT include diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, low platelet counts in the blood, increased fat level in the blood, and fever. These aren't all of the possible side effects, so for more information, please contact your healthcare provider or pharmacist. Next slide, please. Okay, so we've gone over the mechanism of action, as well as the clinical trial data and important safety information. Now, I'm excited to introduce our patient access program to you. It is entitled ITF ARC, and this is our comprehensive program that is designed for patient assistance. The umbrella is the ITF ARC, but this includes insurance navigation. So it goes through insurance coverage and benefits verifications. We help out with prior authorization, appeal support as needed, and then medication deliveries to home or preferred addresses. We also have access solutions, so copay assistance for eligible commercially insured patients whose healthcare plan covers DUVYZAT. We have for eligible patients, they may pay as little as $0 in copay. We have patient assistance programs for eligible and uninsured and underinsured patients. There's a temporary supply program to ensure that there's timely start for treatment and adherence. We also have, through our ITF ARC, education and adherence, and professionals that are there to help throughout the adherence of the medication as long as you're on DUVYZAT. So I want to also note that if you have any specific questions or would like to go to duvyzat.com to learn more about ITF ARC or contact ITF ARC, it is now live and you can reach out for appropriate resources. So next slide, please. We also want to assure that we are committed to having DUVYZAT become available in Q3 of 2024. If you have any specific questions about DUVYZAT, please discuss with your or your child's healthcare provider. Next slide, please. And we also want to thank the Duchenne community. I think we have heard so much great feedback, and it's really important for you to continue giving us feedback and your insights. We really look forward to continuing our partnership as we get DUVYZAT to the Duchenne community. And if we don't hear from you, then we can't improve. So again, please, please, please reach out with feedback. We'll keep it on here for a little bit so you can grab a snapshot of these QR codes. Okay, we can go to the next slide. That is it for me. I thank you for your time, and we will open it up to questions.
So just as a reminder, if you have a question that you'd like to enter, if you'll look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A button. You may need to hover over it with your mouse, and you'll be able to type in your question, and then we'll be able to answer as many of those as possible during the rest of our webinar. So it looks like we already have some great questions that are coming in. So I will begin. So our first question, is it safe for all exon deletions?
Yes, so as we opened up with the presentation, DUVYZAT is approved for individuals with Duchenne who are at least 6 years of age or older, regardless of genetic mutation.
Wonderful. Can you share your plans for approvals outside of the US?
So while this presentation was specifically for the US, we have filed for approval outside of the US and are committed to getting that, getting DUVYZAT globally. Specifically, we have filed in the EU. We're committed to working fast to make sure that we can get DUVYZAT to as many patients as fast as possible.
Wonderful. What are your plans for Becker, if any?
So right now we are in early clinical development with Becker, and when we have more information about our next steps, we will get that information to the community.
That's great. It's another really good question here. Are you able to share any information on the cardiac safety of your drug?
Yes, so we have not seen any serious adverse events with respect to cardiac adverse events in our Epitus study. It is important to note that if you are taking medications that can prolong QT, that you should talk to your clinician. That is something that you need to manage. But we have, again, to reiterate, we have not seen any adverse events or serious adverse events with respect to cardiac events.
Thank you. Are there any plans to expand to younger patients?
Yes, so we have ongoing clinical study, and this is outside of the US, and it's for individuals with Duchenne who are less than 6 years of age. So this study specifically is for ages 2 to 6 years old, and that study is currently ongoing.
Very good. Two groups were studied in the Epitus trial. Can you share the results from the second group that were not published in the Lancet?
Yes, so we presented these data at previous conferences, and consistent with our first group, or the quote unquote target population, we saw consistent results with respect to efficacy outcomes in the second group.
Excellent. Was any testing done to determine impact on the liver?
Sorry, I missed the question.
No problem. Was there any testing done to determine impact on the liver?
Yeah, consistent with what we saw for our adverse events, there were no adverse events of what we saw with the liver.
Thank you. Can we use this drug with exon skipping drugs together?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So this, to be clear, the exon skipping, there is no contraindications for DUVYZAT. This is a really important conversation to have with your healthcare provider in making that decision. But again, to reiterate, there is no contraindications for DUVYZAT with exon skippers.
Perfect. Is DUVYZAT treatment planned to be as an alternate to steroids, or is this planned to be used in combination with steroids?
Yeah, so that is absolutely a question or a discussion to have with your healthcare provider. DUVYZAT, it acts as an HDAC inhibitor. It acts differently than steroids. This isn't something that we have studied with Epitus with steroids. So to back that up, we studied juvenistat with steroids. Individuals needed to be on a stable dose of steroids 6 months prior to going into the study and needed to maintain on steroids. Treatment decisions, you need to make that in consultation with your healthcare provider.
Okay, perfect. Can kids be on this therapy after being on gene therapy?
Yes. So again, with gene therapy, similar to exon skippers, it is not DUVYZAT is not contraindicated. However, this is a conversation that you will want to have with your doctor and your healthcare providers.
Thank you so much. There's lots of great questions coming in. Is there anything parents should be doing now to start the prescribing or access process?
So you can go to DUVYZAT.com. And you can also go to ITF ARC, as well as talking to your physician to go through all those great resources.
Okay, perfect. And what percentage of the non-placebo trial participants had fatty deposits in their bloodstream due to DUVYZAT, and what was the level of these fatty deposits?
So that is a question that I will have to take back and get you an answer for. So if we can take that information and get an email address, we're happy to get in touch.
Certainly, no problem. Okay, let's see. How to get access. I asked our doctor and was told it won't be available until the end of this year. Can you please clarify?
So on the previous slide that we had right before asking you for your feedback, we are committed to Q3 having DUVYZAT available to the community.
Perfect. And for someone who is recently diagnosed with DMD and not yet started on steroids, can DUVYZAT take away the need to start on steroids?
So we haven't studied that. So this is a question for you to have with your doctor, your healthcare provider. Really important discussion to have. Again, the study that Epitus study was conducted in individuals who received steroids for at least 6 months prior to starting the study, and they had to maintain throughout the entire extent of the study.
Excellent. And what would be the best way for physicians to contact ITF in an effort just to further that relationship or start patients on medication?
So if you go to DUVYZAT.com, there is comprehensive information there to get in touch with ITF ARC, but also the enrollment form is available on DUVYZAT.com.
Excellent. Do you already have ideas for an improved version of DUVYZAT?
Yes, so this is part of our clinical development plan that when we have more information, we were absolutely happy to share it.
Perfect. Is there any data regarding the change seen with and without steroids?
So right now we have data because of our inclusion criteria being that you needed to be on a stable dose 6 months prior, and then throughout that we don't have data from our clinical study. That's something as we move into real world observations that we need to consider collecting, and we can bring that to the community when we have data.
Excellent. This is an inquiry for, I think, their own interest around the name of the trial specifically for 2 to 6-year-olds. Would you mind sharing that?
Right now, I know it's study 52. We can get you the information with our clinical development team yeah, because it is all outside of the US. We always refer to it as study 52. It doesn't have a nice ringing name like Epitus.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. And it looks like one of our near our list end of the questions here. How long has this taken? I'm sorry, how long this, let me just reread this. Hold on. Okay. How long should the patient be on the medication prior to seeing a change? As an example, this person's son is 28. If he started to take it now, how much time before we would see results?
Yeah, so the analysis of that we have seen or that we showed, which is 18-month analysis, that's when we saw the statistically significant difference between placebo and DUVYZAT. The time to event analysis that's being asked, that's something that we are currently working on, and we can bring that information to a future Congress and present the data to the community.
It looks like one of our last questions. Are there any thoughts on making it available in a pill form?
Another great clinical development question that when we have further, as we're further improving our program and getting access to DUVYZAT and other formulations, that we can bring that news to you all. We'll be happy to share it.
Perfect. Well, I would like to, that does conclude all the questions that we have right now. I want to thank you all for joining the CureDuchenne webinar. Thank you especially to ITF Therapeutics for sharing your information with Duchenne community. I know that I speak for the community. We're very excited about this medication, so thank you. Post-webinar email will be sent out tomorrow. Should you have any additional questions, you can send them in at that time. And we'll also get in touch with all attendees to let you know where the webinar will be posted online for review. And again, if you wish to share it with others or rewatch it. And I just want to say thank you again, and I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Thank you.